So heat is the transfer of energy due to a difference in temperatures. How is that energy transferred? How does it go from object A to object B? Or using the example that we've seen in the last couple of videos, you have your cup of warm water and the ice cubes. How does energy transfer from the warm water into the ice cubes? Well, there are three main methods, and we're going to talk about the first one here in this video today. The three main ways in which heat occurs, in which the energy is transferred, are conduction, convection, and radiation. And the next few videos are going to talk about these three. In this one, we're going to talk about conduction. The next video will be convection, and then after that, we'll dive more into radiation. And these three methods of heat occur everywhere, absolutely everywhere in meteorology. In fact, they explain a lot of why weather occurs the way that it does. So what is conduction? Conduction is the transfer of heat, transfer of energy. That's probably a better term. Let me mark that up in there for you. Transfer of energy, because heat is the transfer of energy. There we go. It's the transfer of energy from molecule to molecule. Picture this. You're out with friends and you find a pool table. And you go play pool or billiards, whatever you want to call it, whichever game you want to play. So you hit the cue ball. The cue ball hits another ball perfectly. The second ball starts to move and the cue ball stops. Ever see that actually happen? It's really cool when it does happen perfectly. But what happened? Well, by hitting the cue ball, you put some kinetic energy into that cue ball, and as it came, it hit another ball. That kinetic energy transferred into the second ball. That is an example of conduction. Only instead of billiard balls, we're doing it with molecules. Molecules are zipping around all over the place. Molecule A hits molecule B, transfers some of its energy into molecule B, and it absorbs that energy. Now, in this picture here on the slide, you can see a piece of metal being held over a candle. Well, the candle will heat up the tip, in which case the molecules become really excited, moving really fast, and they start bumping into each other more and more and more, and they start bumping into each other all the way up the line, up through that piece of metal, until all of a sudden, holding that piece of metal in your hand, you feel it start to get a little warm, because that energy has now transferred further up the hand. Now, earlier in another video, we talked about specific heat. Remember that the heat capacity is how quickly that energy is transferred. So objects with a low heat capacity, that energy is going to flow quite freely, like a metal spoon. Whereas objects with a high heat capacity, that energy is going to transfer a lot more slowly.